Maia Chung will tell you not to be fooled by the limelight. This broadcast journalist has to balance a stressful career and being a wife, mother, and daughter at the same time.
I'm here in my capacity as a mother with a specific focus on the fact that I have a child with a disability. His name is Quinn Garen James Smith, and he is diagnosed as severely autistic. Autism is a condition which a lot of people don't know or have too much information about. Not even the doctors that diagnose it or tell you about it. It manifests itself in various ways. In my son, he carries a lot of the typical characteristics. He has a lot of repetitive behaviors. Right now he just saw his 6th birthday on May 5, and he's still unable to speak fluently. He can say the alphabet, he can count numbers, and there are, 1 and 2 phrases that he can say, but he's not a fluent speaker. He does not know danger, as in, for a child his age, you wouldn't be able to walk with him on the road and ever let go of his hand, because he may just dash out into the street and obviously get hurt and or killed. These are very, what can I say now, trying issues for a mother to deal with, particularly a woman in my capacity with such a demanding career and 2 other children. I have 2 other sons, Wickham, who is 10, and Sinkane, who is 8.
Already a mother of 2 children, Mrs. Chung said by the time Quinn was born, her motherhood skills were sharpened. She explained that she knew something was unusual about Quinn at an early age.
I realized that Quinn was walking a different road, about in his 1.5, going into his 2nd year. And I read widely, so I was familiar with what autism was and some of the characteristics and the manifestations. I saw these characteristics being displayed by Quinn, and I said, but wait, something wrong. There is one thing with repetitive behaviors, right? And he was constantly rocking in his crib, which was not a normal behavior. And then because I have other children, it becomes easier to assess these later children because you're comparing them with the older ones and their developmental milestones. So when we see that 1.5 come, 2 come, him not talk. Talking was the thing, because everything else, you look at Quinn, it's a normal boy you're looking at. And if he's walking, nobody's gonna look at him and say, that guy has a disability, or he might do something funny, but people might just chalk it up to rude. So it's about 1.5, 2, and then we started to follow up with it. We checked in with our pediatrician, Dr. Aiton. I told her my suspicion. She said I may likely be right, but don't jump the gun. We followed the steps. We went to the specialist, and he was assessed and diagnosed as being severely autistic. You have a spectrum where you might manifest 1 and 2 characteristics of autism. Well, he is severely. I think he has charted every characteristic that modern day medicine has associated with autism.
There's no known cure for autism. This may be the reason why some parents either abandon or give up their autistic children for adoption. Not so for the Smiths. The couple saw this challenge as a mountain they will enjoy climbing.
The personalities of the parents, myself and my husband, Wickham, we are used to coming upon obstacles. This is real life. I don't know if there's anybody that I know in my circle, whether it's people I work with or close friends, who you don't face problems. It was more on him in terms of we were worried about the child and his ability to have a nice, enjoyable life to the best ability that we could give him. We were more worried about him, and it did bring us down, but it never took us to a place where we were so disheartened that we ever thought of giving him up, that we ever thought of abandoning him. My husband never withdrew. I have heard of scenarios where other parents have gotten a diagnosis like this, disability, not necessarily autism. The fathers, they withdraw because they feel disappointed that the perfect child wasn't created. But there is no perfect child either. If you really stop and think about it, there is no perfect child, right? So we were disheartened, but we have faith. Both of us believe that there is a God. And I was never laid low. your highs and lows will come, you know. Don't misunderstand me. But we were never laid low to a point where we thought, boy, throw up your hands in the air and, you know, give up on this child. But my husband and I, we were actually commended by the specialist, Dr. Sams Vaughn, in terms of our response when we got the diagnosis, because she said we were, if I'm not mistaken, she said we were probably the only couple who took it almost in stride and just said, boy, all right, well, another thing for deal with. We get through, because I think the tightness of the family also gives us a certain level of confidence that we can deal with anything that is thrown our way, because we've also lost a child. We lost a son. My husband and I had 4 children, but one of them died, and we have dealt with that. We feel that if we can see our dead son, we can face any mountain.
Dealing with a disabled child can be very challenging. Mrs. Chung Smith shares some of these difficult moments.
It is very difficult to manage a child with such a demanding set of needs, because we're talking about the fact that he doesn't know danger, not yet able to speak. He doesn't understand everything that you as the parent or your brother or a teacher would try to teach him, because autism affects your capacity to understand speech and to process speech and even emotion. There is a very high possibility that my son may never fall in love, he may never have a wife, he may never enjoy the beauty of having children of his own. And those are terrible things for any parent to consider. When I really sit down and think about something like that, it brings me to a place where I don't often go, but I do go there, and it is extremely difficult.